Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Good evening, everybody. It's Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying healthy. Hope you're keeping your mind active. As I've stated before, it's really important to stay social, make those phone calls to friends and loved ones, have those conversations, read those books, listen to that music, do whatever you can to enjoy the time in lockdown. I know here in Chicago, we've got another 30 days left. I know parts of the country and parts of the world are starting to open up a little bit. Hopefully, we're getting back to what's been called the new normal, and everybody continues to practice social distancing and other things that, like wearing masks and gloves when you go out, so it helps stop the spread of this virus. I'd like to welcome our next guest from Liverpool, England. One of the hot up-and-coming bands, the Mysterines. It is Lia Metcalfe. How you doing today, Lia?
Hi, how are you? I'm good, thanks.
I'm doing well. Thanks again for doing this. I appreciate it. Been a big fan of your music here. Listen to the new single, Love's Not Enough, which we'll get into, but I appreciate you doing the show.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Well, we always start the same way every time we have a new guest on the podcast, and that is the essence of the show, which is the hook rocks. Like every great song, great rock song has a hook that sucks you in. Every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance that hooked you on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Well, I was brought up around music as a kid, because my dad was a musician, so I was introduced to like alternative music quite early on. I really liked The Strokes and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club and Kings of Leon. So I suppose I had it quite early, so perhaps it was a subconscious hook maybe. But I used to like Jim Morrison as a kid and be quite intrigued by his whole demeanor, and I suppose that kind of enticed me in perhaps to rock and roll.
What was it about Jim Morrison? I mean, was it his presence on stage? Was it the lyrics in his song?
Well, as a kid, it was more about his presence on stage and how rock he was, I guess, and how sort of mean-sounding his vocal was, but also quite soft. So it was just the blues sort of element to it and the erraticness of his stage presence, I guess, as a kid. And as I grew up.
Now, as you evolved, from being around your father, who was a musician, what was that moment where you wanted to be on stage? Was it that Jim Morrison moment? Was there another artist that captured your imagination about wanting to be on a rock and roll stage in front of people?
Weirdly, no. I think I never really had a moment where I was kind of like, I need to be on stage to express myself. It was more about I was writing songs and I just wanted them to be heard, I suppose. And then the performance thing kind of came as I, grew up, and I kind of, got into watching certain people perform, and it kind of just became like that. Really, I didn't ever really feel like I wanted to be on stage, I guess, but here I am. So
Now, lyrically, writing music, was there a song or a moment when you wanted to write music?
Well, I've always been into literature from a very young age. So I suppose expressing myself through words was kind of what ultimately came before I learned any instrument. I was always writing stories and poems as a kid, and I entered writing competitions and stuff with my school. So I suppose I've always been more predominantly a writer, but I think the big turning point for me was perhaps listening to Bob Dylan's records, because he kind of had the whole, amazing words and lyrics mixed with music, which was also great, and blues influence and stuff and folky. So Bob Dylan's probably my biggest inspiration in terms of writing, and he kind of, I just love him so much, and he's the best songwriter there is to me.
I imagine when you're writing music, and you're writing about a life experience, or you're writing about something that happened to you, there has to be a reconnection with that moment. And some moments are positive and some moments are negative that you write about. And when you write about something negative, there's that certain sense of vulnerability. There's that certain sense of exposure that you're reliving in a moment that may not have been the happiest of times. And you put that on paper, you put it to song, and then you present it to your audience. And then there's that moment where, there has to be that connection with your audience. And it's a time of exposure. It's a time of, that's a very weird thing or crazy thing to happen, because you're writing about a moment, you captured that, like I said, whether it's positive or negative, and now you're allowing your audience to see inside of your mind, of your heart, or whatever. How is that for you? Is that a tough thing to do or to get past?
I think when I write, I kind of have a almost separate narrative for it. So I don't think I'd ever entirely be writing from me as Lia. I don't think it's ever me writing as my own experience fully, even though if some things have derived from personal experiences, or I've kind of been influenced by a certain time in my life to write about it. I think it's more about I kind of take on a persona almost when I'm writing, and that helps me separate so I can kind of view it from the outside, and sometimes you can add extra elements and stuff.
The new single that you just released was Love's Not Enough. It's been out for a bit here. Crazy video, awesome video. Really enjoyed it. If anyone who's listening wants to check it out, it's got a great storyline, and it's got a great point of view, and it's really a lot of fun. At the same time, it's also has some underlying subjects that are important as well, about relationships and about happiness. And what was the thought process going into that video? How did you guys want to capture the song and display it for people to absorb it visually?
Well, I kind of wanted an underlying sort of funny, dark humour to it, I suppose. And I watched a film called Buffalo 66, which is directed by Vincent Gallo, and I kind of like how sultry their relationship is, I suppose, and kind of, the emotions are there, but the kind of, the outlet for them is not perhaps the most normal way, I suppose, of expressing emotions to someone that you care about. But I just kind of got a lot of influence from that film that I watched, and sort of new series that I'd watched on British TV called End of the Effing World, which Graham Coxon did the soundtrack for from Blair, which I really loved that. And I kind of like the whole escapism vibe and runaway sort of relationship that's formed out of turmoil, and they find a way of surviving together almost, but it's not always the best kind of way of survival. It's just something you had to do at that time. So I wanted to kind of convey that sort of, naivety and youthfulness in the video.
The song again is Love's Not Enough. You've also had singles over the last several months, Who's Your Girl, Take Control. When you're writing with the members of the band, how is that collaborative process? How's the recording process?
Well, I usually kind of write alone and, kind of get the formula of the song at its basic form as strong as I can before I take it to the band. Me and Callum actually write it together, and we're writing the debut album sort of together now. So both of us kind of read a lot and watch, a lot of films and stuff, and kind of influenced by the same stuff. So it works really well, and we've got a really great creative relationship, and it's really fun writing together. But Love's Not Enough in particular was written before he entered the band. So I just wrote it at home and took it to the band to do it, and then we got it to strength, played it live a few times, and recorded it in the studio, which was fun. We just wanted a whole Springsteen vibe, and we got some different instruments on that song as well, which was cool. And that was it really. Not much to it.
As you're moving forward too with writing more music and recording more music, and we have the situation here with the coronavirus that's affecting everything globally. What's life like for Lia, for the Mysterines, while this quarantine, while this lockdown, while this virus is affecting so many people across the world?
Well, I've tried not to acknowledge it too much, and I don't really watch the news or anything, and I don't actually own a TV where I live, so I suppose I'm quite secluded from the whole thing, which is a positive thing for me, because I don't think I could kind of delve into that. But yeah, I've just been writing a lot, reading a lot. Me and Callum have been writing for the album in mind, and just trying to stay productive really. I think, it's a good time to be writing, and it's a good time to be learning new things and sort of, taking time in and kind of reflecting on what else you could do with your life, not just one thing that maybe you've been set on for years. So it's been quite a positive time for me. Maybe not the rest of the world, but I don't mind it too much.
It's interesting because I talk to a lot of musicians, and it's kind of 50-50 in how it's split. There are musicians who say it's hard to write and be creative during this time because as an artist, you need to experience life to, be inspired and to write music and to write about a particular subject. And then there's others that are fine, are still have that creative juice because for whatever reason they're allowed or they have some inspiration in their life, or they're allowing themselves to find ways to be creative. Are you kind of a mix? Are you kind of on one side? How is that working for you?
Well, I think I've got a lot of inspiration around me. I'm fortunate enough to kind of have a lot of, records and books and films, and fortunate enough that I've got people in my life who are also interested in the same stuff. So I think in that respect, I'm constantly inspired, and I haven't really got an excuse not to be, because I've got plenty of things that I can. Everything doesn't have to be from my perspective. You could write a song about perspective of character in a film or whatever. So I think I've been doing that quite a bit. I wouldn't say that. I think this is quite a creative time for me personally. I wouldn't say that I'm struggling at all, but I could definitely see why some musicians would. And the thing is, with creativity, it kind of ebbs and flows. So it's kind of just that's the way it is. Sometimes even when you want to be really creative and you've got the passion in you to do it, sometimes it's really difficult to get it out. And that's just what writing's about. It's sort of going with the process of it and just constantly feeding your brain with new stuff to kind of work with.
Being creative, you never know when it's going to hit, right? I mean, you could be dry in terms of nothing's inspiring you. It's hard to put a song together. It's hard to write a song, and then there's moments where it's just flowing. So, you never know when it's going to stop. You never know when it's going to start giving like it does. So I imagine, if you're in that experience now with everything going on, if you have it flowing, it's probably a good thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, and well, with creativity, it's kind of just I never find myself not being creative or my mind is completely blank. Whether it's not writing, I usually kind of express it in a different way, or maybe I'll get an idea to write a film, or I'll have an idea to, I don't know, do something else. I wouldn't say paint or draw. I'm definitely not an artist, but sometimes I get inspired by colour. It doesn't. You can take a lot of inspiration from the world, and even the current situation of the world as well. So, yeah, I don't really find myself being stagnant in this time, fortunately.
Was there the plan in place before this hit that you guys were going to take a little bit of a break to create the new album? So maybe this virus is kind of playing into what the Mysterines had plans to do, or was this now a new opportunity to create more material for the album?
It's definitely allowed me a lot more time to create and focus on it a bit more, I suppose, and kind of pinpoint it in to exactly what we want the album to be. So in that respect, it is definitely a blessing in disguise, I suppose. But no, yeah, there was definitely we needed time to write, but obviously the year and plan that we had before this happened was a lot of gigging and touring and playing great festivals and stuff, which we're all very upset that we haven't been able to play them. But I think it's a good thing not to kind of cling on to that, because you can't really delve into what would have been, because that's just a waste of time. It's better to just kind of shift your focus to what you can do, which is write, and that's what me and Callum have just been doing, just writing the album and kind of getting to know the new sound that we want, I suppose. So yeah.
When before this all happened, you guys were playing out, you guys were doing shows. How has this affected the Mysterines with the momentum that you guys were gaining prior to this?
Well, I'm not too sure. I haven't really thought about that. I suppose I've just been focusing on the new material, but I guess that's where social media comes into play, which is something that I'm not very good at, and struggle to kind of use social media in a positive way before it starts affecting me negatively. So I suppose social media in that respect for the bands and stuff is really good, and if we were really good at social media, then I suppose it wouldn't have really affected the momentum. But I don't know, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But people can still listen to the music, and they can still search online, and it's not like we've disconnected from society completely. So I don't think it would affect it that much. And we've got a new single coming out in May, so I think as long as we can just keep stuff ticking over, it won't really affect the band.
You mentioned social media, and now more than ever, it's very important for fans or for musicians to keep in front of their fans and to stay active with their audience. How do you guys manage that? I mean, how active are you? How do you connect with fans? Because it's different now. I mean, you have the ability to connect with people that love your music, whereas before, years before, decades previous, there was always kind of that separation between fan and musician or fan and band. And now you have the ability to have more of a personal connection. And I think that breeds more loyalty into someone's music or, the band itself. How do you feel about that? How do you manage all that social media?
Well, I actually don't really handle it. We've got someone who helps us out. But,
sure.
Yeah, I'm not great at the social media game. and it's not something that I really resonate with. I just think, I think it's a great thing, and I think it really does help bands, and it's great for the fans as well to kind of keep updated with their favorite musicians and stuff. But for me, I just really don't care about that. Maybe I should, but I can't really change that about my personality. I just rather focus on writing and staying creative. I just think social media has such a negative impact on my mental health, so I just kind of try and not get affected by it too much, and I do what I can, obviously, and I do like live streams and stuff to kind of connect with the fans. But we're probably not as active on it as much as other bands.
Social media is a powerful tool, but as it helps you connect with people, it also has the ability to isolate people because they start communicating through social media and they lack that physical connection or that physical contact. With everyone being in the same boat, with this whole lockdown or most people being in the same boat, I know a lot of musicians and bands are doing these, sets on Facebook or doing these things on, whether it's Instagram or Facebook Live and showing fans and keeping them, interested in their music. But everyone does it differently. Everyone has their own game plan. Is that something that, you guys have to be conscious of right now because you don't know how long this is going to be? You don't know what the new normal is going to be looking like as this ends?
Yeah, I suppose. It's just kind of... I think it's just showing me how important social media can have an effect on connecting to your fans and stuff. As I said, I don't really know too much about it because someone helped us out, fortunately, with it because I'm so terrible at it. But I've just kind of been focused on just writing really, and when I can, I do try and connect to people, and I'll reply to some messages from fans and stuff, and I just kind of do what I can on what's right for me because it kind of puts a different tone to my life, I guess, social media, that I don't really like introducing. It can make me quite toxic to myself and creative, so not creative, sorry. I don't really kind of think about it too much.
Playing live is another way for musicians and bands to connect with their audience. It's a way to get that adrenaline rush, when you get out on stage and you see all those faces staring at you and enjoying your music. Have you missed that, while this has all been going on? I mean, have you had a lot of cancellations as a result of this? And how has that affected you?
We definitely cancelled a lot of gigs or festivals that we cancelled. I didn't really miss it initially because playing live can sometimes be quite intense for me. But I didn't initially miss it, but it was only quite recently actually that I realised that when a festival we were supposed to be playing was happening, which is a festival I wasn't looking forward to playing. I did kind of think back to playing live and stuff and our headline tour and how fun it was. So I did actually have a bit of nostalgia, I suppose, which made me miss playing gigs and being with the bands and sort of, just having fun, really. It was more just missing kind of the element of mischief, I guess. But I guess I am missing playing live now. And especially now we've got some new songs and stuff, it's kind of like, well, I can't wait to play them live, and you can only just sit here and imagine what they'll be like live. So for the time being, I guess I'll just have to do that.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned how, playing live can be intense. Is it because of all what's going on? Is it nerves? Is it anxiety for you? Or is it just, that being on stage and performing and you want people to enjoy it? When you say intense, what do you mean by that?
More so because, touring is intense anyway. I mean, I was thinking about this before, actually, but I think the best way to describe touring to someone now who hasn't been on tour is it's almost like quarantine. It's very like quarantine, but you're with the same 5 people, and you're in a van, and you're in a small hotel room, and you don't really get to see much of the outside world at all. You're just with these people in this confined space, and it is very much a quarantine tour, except the fact you don't really sleep a lot, and you haven't got household things around you to make you comfortable. So I think it's intense in that way, and it's a strain on any musician touring. So I think it just kind of exhausts you in the end. But yeah, I don't know why it's intense. It's more intense because I'm kind of playing a character on stage every night, and then you come out of it and you're just back to you again. So it's kind of a bit like Jekyll and Hyde, I suppose.
Do you enjoy morphing into that character, when you do play? Is it a different feel for you? Is it kind of a release?
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I think it's something that's quite necessary for me as a performer in order to deliver a performance, really. I couldn't really go on stage, again, how I couldn't really write a song fully just, me. Not for the Mysterines anyway, perhaps if I was writing stuff which is separate, maybe I could, but the Mysterines has like a whole, it's a character in itself, I suppose. It's just, it's a vibe rather than a quite, I don't know, really. It helps me perform.
When you're writing music, getting back to that, and you have, this Jekyll and Hyde type of persona performing live and then, outside of playing live, when you're writing, are you writing for yourself or are you writing for that character that's on stage?
Both, I suppose, and kind of it's an outlet for emotions that I've felt, but it's kind of portrayed in a way which isn't exactly, maybe how they happened or maybe exactly how I felt. It's kind of more like the character and what the character would do, and maybe perhaps what certain movie characters would do, or the attributes of the personality reflect that.
Because ultimately, when you're writing lyrics, you have to connect with them, and if you have that stage persona, when you're on stage and you have to perform and you have to sing those lyrics, there has to be that connection too. And I've, read interviews, I've read articles about, maybe a drummer writing the lyrics or the guitar player writing the lyrics, and the singer has to feel those lyrics. They have to perform that. Is it kind of the same thing when you're writing when you're writing lyrics, reading books or watching movies that inspire you for a song or life experiences, whatever it is, and then you have, the Lia Metcalfe that goes on stage? Does that Lia have to connect with, or feel those lyrics, when she's performing?
Well, I suppose I kind of do through the character, and I suppose kind of, I don't really get caught up too much on this character thing because, it is me on stage, and I'm expressing emotions through the lyrics that are honest completely. So, it's more just it's more like an edge to it rather than, fully me. But I think there's a lot of times where you don't have to connect to the lyrics, and, I think a lot of artists, write songs where you don't know where it's come from and you don't know what the experience is about, but you've written the song. And the thing is, once you've written a song, I'm not precious about my songs really. Once I've written them, it's kind of, I don't decide what that is. It's just something that I've written that's now put into space. It's kind of everyone else's side, and that's the thing with art. I don't think you can get too precious about it. So, yeah.
Getting back to the Mysterines and getting back to the band itself, what is the history of the band and how did the band form?
Well, we originally had a 3-piece lineup, and then before the tour, we got a new drummer and a new guitar player. So we've been friends with them for quite a while now, and we work really creatively with them, and we have a great time with them. Me and Callum write together now, which is great. So Paul and Callum and other new members in the band, and yeah, it's just a perfect lineup for us, and we.
So you guys went from a 3-piece to a 5-piece band?
From a 3-piece to a 4-piece.
To a 4-piece, okay. So how was that change? I mean, imagine, you guys being a 3-piece for a while and having that dynamic with writing and creating, now that you have a new drummer and you have another guitar player, how has that changed the Mysterines in terms of creative process and recording?
It's been really positive for us and really exciting. It's definitely added an extra element that I personally believe we were lacking for quite a while, and I'm just really excited to see what happens with it, I guess.
Now, losing your drummer in the fall and having to replace the drummer, I mean, there's always that synergy that you have when you're creating and you're rising up the ranks and you're performing, and then someone leaves the band and you have to replace them. You add another element, another guitar player to the band. How does that reset things in terms of figuring each other out, creating that synergy, creating that connection with each other? Is that a work in progress, or did it happen immediate?
Luckily, it happened quite immediately, and they both are perfect for the band, and they've been our friends for a while, and they've also come to see the band in previous times when we were a 3-piece, so they're quite aware of what the sound is, and they're both amazing musicians as well, and it's just perfect for us, and we have the initial energy that we did beforehand, if not better, so it wasn't really a struggle or a working process. It was just more exciting to have that thing.
And how does it change in terms of, I mean, I imagine when you're recording, you've got one guitar player, and he plays the song, how he plays the song. You add another guitar player, and there's more parts to, record and figure out. Has that been seamless too as well? Has that been, has it made the songs that may be recorded as a 3-piece sound more full, sound more dynamic? How has that worked out for you guys?
Yeah, it definitely made it sound more full. And we recorded the new single with the musicians now, so they're both on the new stuff. So that was good fun recording it with them. It just really worked. There's no other way to put it, really. It just works, and it's perfect for us. So
you guys have a lot of momentum moving forward. Obviously, this pause in life and reality has affected a lot of bands' momentum and a lot of bands' plans for 2020. But you guys, have been gaining, progress, throughout the last couple of years. In terms of the state of rock and roll, in terms of, in the genre that you're in, getting new music, being a new band to connect with an audience and grow your audience, what are some of the challenges that you guys face, or some of the things that maybe you weren't prepared for when you guys started?
Well, when I started the band, I was 14, so I suppose there's a lot of things you need to prep for in life, not just being in a band before you're 14 that you need to learn about. So I definitely, if I could give myself advice, I definitely probably would say get someone to do the social media a lot earlier than I did, because it was a massive weight off my shoulders. But, I think there's only so much you can prepare for being in a band, and sometimes the less you prepare for the big moments that, hit you, the better, really, because you learn from them. So I don't think there's any way anyone could really prepare for a band. It's just the willingness, and you got to have the drive to do it. And if you don't have that, and you're doing it for alternative reasons other than just enjoying music and enjoying writing, then you're definitely in the wrong game, I guess.
As far as, though, getting your music out to people, I mean, obviously there's a social media tool, but things are a lot different than when you were growing up, watching your dad play and being around that, and being around when that scene was active. Things are much different now. There's really not an infrastructure for rock music as there was years ago, especially here in America. There's rock radio doesn't exist anymore. There's no more MTV where bands had an outlet to have fans visually see them and visually absorb their music. There's always the fan that doesn't know where to find new music. There's so many platforms, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all that. How do you feel about, the state of rock and roll? Has the lack of infrastructure affected you, or have you guys just adapted to what the current times are and dealt with it accordingly?
Yeah, I suppose we just kind of adopted it and dealt with it, and we're all, pretty young still, in our in our teens. So I guess all those things that you mentioned, we weren't used to having too much anyway. So our current reality is probably the one that I'm most used to in terms of platforms for music. So yeah, I think we just kind of play the game as we can, really, and I don't really think too much about any of this. I just focus on writing, really, and just being creative.
What is the plan for the Mysterines once this is over? Are you guys going to hopefully tour the States? You start playing gigs outside of the UK, outside of Europe? Where do you guys stand with that?
Yeah, I think we actually planned to this year, but obviously the current situation is not, is probably not going to allow that to happen. But it would be great to come to America. I've never been myself, and I've always kind of, loved American music a lot more than British music, actually, and I've been very intrigued by America and stuff. So I really like the USA, to be honest, and yeah, I think it'd be great to come over. It'd be a dream, actually. So, yeah.
Is the album that you guys are recording, are you expecting that to come out in 2020, or is it something you're going to hold on to till 2021 till we kind of come out of this?
Yeah, probably be next year, I'm guessing. There's a few more things that need to be in place, and obviously the current scenarios with the coronavirus is probably not the best time to put an album out, but yeah, I should imagine next year, and I'm really excited for it.
With this album, I mean, there's always the evolution of the artist, the evolution of the band. How has this recording process? I mean, obviously there's 2 new members in the band, but in terms of recording, what excites you about the new material that maybe was different than the previous singles and music that you recorded?
I just think it's more vital, and it's more confident in what it is, I guess. It's more, defined, and from that you can communicate a lot more, and it's more sure of itself. So, yeah, I'm just excited to kind of take a direct route and not look back, really, and not question it, and just be very black and white about what we are, because I think that's what we are like anyway. So if the music can convey that, then that's the best scenario.
I imagine anytime you're working on something new, there's an excitement about it, right? You want to get it out to the people. You want to get it out to your fans. You want to grow your fan base, and especially now with the excitement of having 2 new members and maybe not changing your sound, but adding to your sound. So I imagine, wanting people to hear it, having that outlet for, acceptance is important and vital for you guys too as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it definitely changed the sound, having the 2 new members, but it's been positive, and it's, me and Callum work really well creatively together, so we can kind of convey what we know how to convey it correctly, because there's some things he'll know about guitars that I won't, and there's some things that I will probably know about, melodies or whatever that he won't, and it combined together, it just works really well because we both got the same goals with what we want to achieve in the song. So it's definitely changed the sound and made it more full and all of that, but it's also made it a lot more of a positive experience writing, and I suppose a less isolated experience of writing, because when we were a three-piece, it was all on me to write, but now I'm able to share creative ideas with another member who is as creative, so it's only a positive thing.
Well, I look forward to the new music. I look forward to to see you guys grow into what you're becoming. Obviously, we have the situation here where everything's on pause, but next year, we'll be here before we know it. Hopefully, this will be past us, and we'll be able to get on with our life, however, with the new normal that is. But Lia, I thank you for doing this. I've been a big fan of you guys, and I hope at one point you do play the States and you do come to Chicago, because I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, cool. Great. Thanks so much for having me, and stay safe.
Once again, everybody, that's Lia Metcalfe from the band The Mysterines. Check out their latest single, Love's Not Enough. There's also some other singles, namely Who's Your Girl, Take Control. Really great music. I think you'll enjoy it. Once again, this is Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Stay healthy, stay safe, everybody, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.